Some love stories survive the storm. But can they survive the silence afterward? He loved her child, long before he knew the truth. But some questions do not become less frightening just because love is bigger than them. Because every time he held that little girl in his arms, there was still a quiet part of him wondering what would eventually be taken away. The hospital room is unusually quiet for a lovely couple who just received their bundle of joy. Augustus sits in a chair he has pulled close to the bassinet. He has been sitting like this for a while, looking at his daughter. She is sleeping, her left hand lies open beside her face, fingers slightly curled like it is waiting for something to hold. Augustus extends his index finger and settles it gently beside her open palm. Arya closes her fingers around his, all four of them tightly, and he could not move. His eyes fill slowly. Down the corridor, there are doctors and results. There is an answer he has been refusing to ask for since the night Bella told him everything. An answer that has been sitting in the silence of his chest for months. He was afraid to hear it, because he sits here, with his finger held by the smallest hand he has ever seen. He had told her it was his. He had told her he didn't need anything else. And he had meant it, every word. But meaning something and being unafraid of it are not always the same thing. This is the story of what happened before the answer came. And what happened when it did. The world had moved on after Bella's case was dismissed. But she didn't. Augustus watched her, but he did not push. He knew it will take a considerable amount of time to heal. But he was closer now, and she let him be. They had not talked about forever yet. Not directly. But it was in the room with them most evenings. Patient and warm, waiting for her to be ready to name it. He was in no hurry. He had already decided. He could wait for her to arrive at the same place in her own time. She contacted Diane 9 days after the charges were dropped, because there was something sitting in her chest that had no other place to go. She asked to meet privately, and they met in a coffee shop on the east side of the city. Bella did not ease into it. She sat down. She looked at Diane directly, and she said, "You watched it happen. You had a live feed and you let it go on." Diane did not flinch. She had expected this. She had, in the 9 days since the press conference, thought about little else. She shook her head. "I wasn't watching," she said. "I want you to understand that. I did not know the timeline of that meeting. He arranged it himself, without me, which is how I knew it was not something he wanted recorded. I planted the pen that morning because I knew something was going to happen. But I was not watching a live feed, and I didn't see it in real time." A pause. "I watched the recording after, alone. The morning after the news broke." Bella looked at her across the table. "All of it," Diane said quietly. "I watched all of it." Bella said nothing for a long time. Then, "And you edited it." Diane held her gaze. "What happened to you in that room before you defended yourself," she said, "did not belong to the public. It did not belong to anyone except you." She paused. "I should have acted years ago, and I cannot give you those years back. But I could give you that." The silence between them was long enough to hold everything that had not been said. Then Bella nodded. Once. The small, precise nod of a woman who has received something she did not know how to ask for. "Thank you," she said, "for being bold enough to tell the truth." Diane looked at her hands. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for being the one who finally ended it." They did not stay long after that. Bella did not tell Augustus about the meeting. She carried it quietly. She knew before the test confirmed it. She had felt it for 3 days before she bought the test kit, and she sat with the result on the bathroom floor of the apartment she now shared with him, and she held 2 nights in her mind at the same time. The night on the dark sofa, when she told him everything and felt the weight of it find somewhere to go for the first time in years. And the other night. The room. What Voss had done before she picked up the glass, The final assertion of power from a man who needed to remind her, one last time, that he could. She had not told Augustus that part. She had told him almost everything. Not that. She sat on the bathroom floor for a long time, and she thought about a question she did not know how to answer, and about the man in the next room who had never once flinched at anything she had handed him, and about whether this particular thing was the thing that would finally show her the edges of what he could hold. She folded the test into her palm. She stood up. She went to make coffee, because some mornings you do the ordinary thing first, because the ordinary thing is the only thing that feels manageable. She did not tell him right away. She went to a doctor alone, a clinic across town where no one knew her name from the news cycle. She came home and made dinner, and sat across from him at the kitchen table and watched him talk, completely present the way he always was. She knew he loves her so much, but she still could not find the words. Because the words came attached to a question, and the question came attached to a fear she had no name for yet. The fear not that he would leave, but that he would stay, and she would watch the staying cost him something he could never get back. She carried it for 11 days. They are in the kitchen when she told him, "Augustus, I'm pregnant." The newspaper he was reading comes down. He looks at her. She is not turned around yet. Her hands are still on the edge of the sink. Her back to him, her shoulders carrying the particular tension of someone who has just said the thing, and is now waiting to find out what it costs. And then something happens that she did not plan for. His joy. He is out of his chair before she finishes processing that he has moved. He crosses the kitchen in 4 steps, and he turns her around. Gently, both hands on her shoulders. And he looks at her face, and then he looks away from her face because he cannot look at her face right now. He needs a moment. He needs seeds. He puts his hands on top of his head. He turns in a half circle. He makes a sound that is not quite a word. Bella, we're... He stops. He tries again. How long have you known? How are you feeling? Are you eating enough because I read that the first... He stops again. He looks at her properly. We're having a baby. He says it like he is testing whether it is real. Like the words themselves are the confirmation. And then the full force of it lands on him all at once, and he laughs. The real laugh. The one that comes from somewhere physical and completely unguarded. The laugh she has heard maybe a dozen times in all their months together. Because he is not a man who laughs easily, and every time she hears it, it does something to her chest. He takes her hands. He pulls her gently toward the sofa. Sit down. You should sit. Actually, you should have been sitting. Why were you standing at the sink? You're not doing dishes anymore. I'm doing all the dishes. I'm doing everything. You're not to lift. Augustus. Bella called his name, but he was too overjoyed to listen, or notice what was going on beneath her words, and just continued. The nursery. We need to start the nursery. I'm going to build it. I want to build it myself. I've been looking at some designs, actually, not because I wasn't assuming, He stops. He looks at her sitting beside him, her hands in his, and he is lit up from the inside in a way she has never quite seen before. He looks, in this moment, like a man who has been given something he did not dare ask for. I'm going to love her so much, Bella. Or him. I'm going to love our baby so much. I don't even have the words for what I'm going to. He stops talking. Because he has finally looked at her. Really looked. And something behind her expression, behind the warmth, behind the smile that is genuinely there, is not what it should be. His joy does not leave, but it makes room. The way he always makes room for whatever she needs. Hey, he said quietly. Tell me what's underneath that face. What she carries. She tries twice and stops twice. The third time she does not stop. She tells him what she did not tell him before. What Voss did in that room before she picked up the glass. What she has been sitting with for 11 days. The question she cannot answer. Whether this baby, this tiny beginning of a person, came from the man holding her hands right now, or from the man she killed on a dark floor 3 months ago. She does not look at him while she talks. She looks at their joined hands. When she finishes, she looks up, braced, the way she has always braced herself for the things she cannot control. His face is still, not shut down. Still. The particular stillness of a man arriving at a decision. He takes a breath. It's mine. She opens her mouth. He continues evenly. It will always be mine. I don't need anything else to tell me that. I don't want anything else. She tells him he cannot simply decide that. He tells her he can. He tells her he has made harder decisions with considerably less information, and he has never once been wrong about what mattered. He tells her that what matters is sitting beside him right now, and what is growing inside her is theirs, and that is the beginning and the end of it. She cries uncontrollably, and he holds her. He does not say anything else. He has already said the only thing that needed saying. What he does not tell her. What he folds carefully into the silence of his chest and carries there, alone, where he carries all the things she cannot hold yet, is that he is also afraid? Not of the answer. Of what the answer might ask of him. He makes a decision. He will not ask. He will not test. He will choose every single day without knowing. He will choose her. He will choose the baby. He will choose them unconditionally and without confirmation, forever. Because the choosing is the only part that has ever mattered to him. And he is not ready to let a result, whatever it might be, make the choice for him. Growing. The pregnancy changes things between them in ways neither of them anticipated and both of them needed. She softens in some directions and holds firm in others. Sometimes, she lets him in completely, her head on his chest, his hand resting on the curve of her stomach, the specific piece of two people building something together. And there are days the old fear comes back, and she goes somewhere inside herself and he learns, again, to wait for her to come back. He goes to every appointment. He knows her iron levels and her blood pressure readings and exactly which week the baby can hear sound from outside the womb. He builds the nursery himself for 6 weekends, a space that will belong to someone he already loves without having met. Bella stands in the doorway of the finished nursery one evening and does not speak for a while. Then she looks at him. You're going to be a good father. He looks back at her, steady. I already am. They name her Aria. She is born on a Tuesday morning in early spring, and Bella holds her first. Augustus stands 2 feet away and watches his woman hold their daughter, and he watches something move across Bella's face. Something complex and private and fast, there and gone. The question, one final time, looking at this small face and searching for an answer she does not have. Then Aria turns her head towards her face, and she pulls her closer to her chest. Augustus breathes. They move Aria to the bassinet for her first checks. Bella is being seen to. Augustus stands beside the bassinet, alone. He looks at her for a moment then, extends his index finger beside her open hand. Aria closes her fingers around it, holding on. Augustus stands there with his hand held by the smallest hand he has ever seen, and he makes the same decision he made the night Bella told him. Except this time, it is no about a question, or about fear. It is not about anything complicated at all. It is the simplest thing he has ever felt. This is my daughter. He takes over Aria's care with a completeness that leaves no gaps. He does the night feeds. He learns her different kind of cries inside the first week and answers all of them without hesitation. In the 3 a.m. dark of a hallway while Bella sleeps. He is running on very little sleep, but he does not mention it. He reorganizes his work schedule, moves meetings, because this is not sacrifice to him. This is simply priority that requires no discussion. He watches Bella with Arya carefully, not with suspicion. He would not call it that. He sees Bella look at Arya sometimes, with a love so complete, and other times, look at Arya with the faint distance of a question she has not been able to put down. A searching, an uncertainty she cannot close by herself. He does not address it. He simply makes sure that Arya is always held, always answered, always certain. In whatever wordless way a 4-month-old is certain of anything, that someone is there. It is the only thing he knows how to do with his own fear. It happens on a Wednesday afternoon, in the corridor outside his office on the 14th floor. He has not slept more than 4 hours in any single night for 11 weeks. He is exhausted, no matter how much he doesn't want to admit it. He goes down without warning. One moment he is walking. The next, he is on the floor, and his assistant is calling his name. Bella arrives at the hospital still in her studio clothes, a streak of ink on her left wrist, because she left the moment her phone rang and did not stop for anything. He is sitting up when she gets there. Severe exhaustion. Elevated stress markers. His body, the doctor explains, has simply reached the point at which it declines to continue at the pace he has been setting for it. Bella sits beside his bed and looks at him for a long moment. You've been doing the night feeds alone. It is not a question. You needed the sleep. Augustus. You needed the sleep, Bella. She looks at him. He looks back at her. She knows that this is the only way he knows how to love. Completely, and without accounting for the cost to himself. They run the standard blood work for a hospital admission, and the attending physician comes back with the results late that afternoon. She goes through them efficiently. His blood pressure, his iron, his cortisol levels. And then she pauses, looking at the panel with the particular expression that notes something that requires a conversation. Your blood type has come back as a B negative. I want to ask, has your daughter been typed yet? Augustus goes very still as the doctor continued. A B negative is one of the rarest types we see. Less than 1% of the population. As a standard precaution when we identify it in a parent, we recommend early typing for any young children in the immediate family. There are blood compatibility considerations we like to get ahead of, particularly at this age. It's not urgent, but I'd suggest scheduling it with her pediatrician in the next few weeks. She moves on. She is discussing his rest requirements, his return to work timeline. She does not notice that he has not responded. Bella, beside him, is listening to the doctor. Augustus looks at the window. He thinks about what a blood type test will tell him, that he has spent 11 months deciding he did not need to know. And he understands sitting in this hospital bed that the choice has been made for him. Not by him. Not by Bella. By a doctor reading a panel, following protocol, doing her job. He looks at Bella. She is looking at him now, the doctor finished, the room quiet. She has understood. He can see it on her face. He nods. Once. We'll schedule it. He does not sleep, as he thinks about what he will do if the result is not what he needs it to be. He arrives after a long time, at the same place he always arrives. Whatever the result says. It will not change what those 4 months were. It might change other things. But not that. It is a short appointment. Arya does not enjoy the blood draw and communicates this clearly and at volume. But Augustus holds her through it, and she quiets against his chest almost immediately after. The results come through the following afternoon. A notification on his phone. A link to the patient portal. He is alone when it arrives. Bella is at the studio. Arya is asleep in the nursery. He reads it once. He reads it again. And then he puts the phone face down on the table, and he puts both hands flat beside it, and he looks at the surface of the table for a long time. His breathing is very controlled. His eyes are very bright. From down the hall, a small sound. Arya waking, the first soft sound she makes before the proper cry. The one only he hears, because he has trained himself to hear it. He stands up and goes to her. He lifts her from the bassinet and holds her against his chest, and she quiets immediately. She was his. Completely. Unambiguously. Biologically, entirely, undeniably his. The result left no room for any other reading. And the man who had told himself he was prepared for any answer. The man who had spent a long night finding the ground beneath the question. Stood in the room he had built and held his daughter, and understood that he had not been prepared at all. That there is no preparation for relief this complete. That some things you do not know how to receive until they arrive. When Bella comes home, she knows when she walks through the door. Augustus. He looks at her and cannot speak for a moment. Hey! Look at me. He does. Bella, she's yours. He nods. Once. His eyes fill. I'm so sorry, I just didn't know how to stop being afraid of the question. He lifts one hand from Arya's back and covers Bella's hand where it rests against his face. After a long time, he says, I was afraid too. I was never not afraid. She looks at him. But you stayed. I stayed. Between them, Arya sleeps. Her fist is closed around the fabric of his shirt. She is entirely unaware of the weight of this moment, and entirely responsible for it simultaneously. He had told her that he didn't need anything else. He had meant it as a promise, before he had any confirmation that he was right. And he had been right. Not because the test said so, but because he had already chosen her, every day, before the answer came. And the choosing, it turned out, was the truest part. It always had been.